Hey, welcome to the Hills and Hollows podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Jordan Fuller, and today we're taking a deep dive into the world of the metaverse and social media. Today's guest was once fully immersed in social media into an unhealthy and detrimental degree. Her social media status determined her own self-worth, seemingly coming up short when comparing herself to other people's Facebook and Instagram feeds. What once was deemed fun began to take hostage of her mind, plague her self-image, rob herself of time, which, let's be honest, we've all been robbed of way too much time on social media, and eventually pulled her into a deep and dark depressive state that was pretty hard to come out of. Now she's the owner of an influencer marketing agency. She's the assistant to a well-known social media influencer. She has an entirely different perspective to what we see as we scroll on social media. Now, we're sitting down with Brittany to lay out some of the pros and cons and some tips on how to wisely navigate the world of the metaverse and social media. Brittany, it's so good to have you today. How are you doing? So, Brittany, we're excited to have you on the podcast today. Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay. Yeah. My name is Brittany, obviously. You just said that. I'm from Seneca. I went to Seneca High School and I graduated not so long ago, but I went to Anderson University a little bit after that,
Right.
and I graduated with a business administration degree.
Awesome. And you're here today because you run social media accounts, or you told me earlier you started your own YouTube channel a while back that wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I have a best friend who's an influencer, and obviously being someone who's really close to someone who's so successful, you think you could do it too.
Right.
So I knew all the tricks and things to do, and when I jumped in it, it was just not for me. But I really love the idea and like the stuff that they do, and so I started working alongside of him kind of as like an assistant, and I just fell in love with kind of the communication between brands and him and influencers and building up their social media content, stuff like that. So I started my own agency from that. It just developed.
So how long have you been doing that?
For about a year. Okay. So I actually branched off working alongside him and with the agency for a year. And then now I'm kind of like shooting head first for just agency. Let's just drop off with this assistant thing and just do the agency. So
awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit. Like when you first got into you probably grew up most of the time around social media anyways, but when you got into social media for the first time, what was that like? And maybe what was your experience with that?
Okay, yeah. I probably had my first social media account when I was in middle high school. And I just had a Facebook account, and it was mainly just family. It was more it wasn't outside. It was just very like friends and just communicating in that way, posting pictures here and there, very innocent, just basic, really.
Basic.
Yeah, basic.
Facebook profile.
Exactly.
Do you remember, are you old enough to remember when you had to have a college account to log into Facebook, or is that just me, the old man here?
I will not. I'll plead the fifth.
Okay, perfect.
I won't call you an old man, but I don't remember.
I'm getting there. Okay. So at what point you started kind of going down bad road on social media? You was having a negative impact on your life. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
So I think that the pressures, I think it really started when I was applying for a roommate in college. And it was just kind of really weird because like everyone was it was all on social media. And my social media account was just, those really embarrassing pictures from middle school.
Right. Been there.
And so I became really self-conscious about that because I was like, oh, I'm going to go delete all of these crazy, embarrassing things off my social media. And then I'll go and like I'll do the roommate thing, which is pretty innocent. It wasn't really that bad. But as I got into like college and like all of my friends, they were kind of consumed in social media as far as like, posting pictures all the time and like building up their followers and all this. And I was not. And so I got drug into it. I was just like, yeah, I got really self-conscious because like I had like 20 people was my family and everybody else were already getting all these likes. And to me, I felt like it just made me less in a way because I didn't have it. And so I think that's when I started the kind of the unhealthy relationship with it, when I started feeling like I had to kind of be this type of social media person in order to be like cool.
So what were like the red flags like along the way? Did you have anything like you're like, okay, this is starting to consume me. This is starting to take up way too much time. And this is controlling my self-image. What were those red flags?
So the main red flag was waking up, and the first thing I would do in the morning before I brushed my teeth, before I got out of bed, was go straight to Instagram and like look at these girls that I was completely obsessed with. Like they were influencers at the time, and they were just super cool. And I just would like look at their life and like swipe through all their stuff and just be like consumed in it every morning. Like right before you eat, before you like get out of the bed. And I was
so many people like first thing you do in the morning, your alarm goes off or you wake up, it's like grab the phone, get on Instagram,
swipe,
TikTok. I should be on this episode saying I spend way too much time on TikTok right now.
Oh, TikTok is it's a black hole. Could you just
it
go
is.
down?
And you never know. Like 2 hours, 3 hours go by and I'm still scrolling. I'm like, get off TikTok. This is taking way too much of my time.
That was one of the red flags. And then just shortly after, I think I started comparing or wanting their lifestyle. And that was the big thing that really consumed me. It wasn't just that like I liked them, because you can like, it's nice to like them. It's think that I wanted or I felt less because I didn't have. And that was really, really hard. Because all of my friends were in the same kind of, situation. So no one was there to be like, this is unhealthy. This isn't okay. So I think that it just consumed me because I really wanted to or I thought it was real life, and so I wanted that type of lifestyle.
So obviously it led you down a road of depression and kind of comparison. What kind of like everyday real life effects did that have on your personal real life, not social media life?
Well, body image was one.
Right.
I really never had like a bad, health or anything like that. I was always super fit, and I think that some of the things I looked at, they were fake, and I thought that they weren't. And it just made me feel like, I should probably not eat that, or like, do this, or I need to go to the gym, or I have to do all these things to look like a certain thing. So it changed the way like I would eat, and it changed the way that I would kind of like gauge my exercise and things of that nature, I guess. So that was one of the main things. I mean, that was probably the biggest thing that it was. It was just really a body image and wanting to change my body image based off of the things that I saw.
Right. I read a stat while I was doing some research on this that said you can correlate the depression rate in America, well, in any kind of civilized country with social media. Those two, depression rates and social media usage rates, correlate all the way up, and we're getting to like this precipice. And I've seen so many Netflix documentaries and just different perspectives on how social media is causing. It used to be just the women, but the men are they're in the same spot now. We're comparing ourselves to the guys that making so much money online, or the guys who are super fit and super healthy. And you're like, that's not me.
Exactly. And then being in an age where you're coming out of college and you see that, and you see people your age in these positions, and you're like, I'm not there. Like, how did you get there? What are you doing? And it kind of makes you feel like, what am I doing with my life? So the comparison thing is really tough with social media, especially when you don't know what's real and what's not real.
And that's where I wanted to get into too, is like 90% of that stuff is fake. It's completely fake.
Yeah.
So, and you do this for a job, and you know what's real and what's fake. So you want to speak a little bit into that?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So first I want to point out that it's not just like, me, I was this person looking on the outside, looking in at these people, thinking they're so great and holding them to a really high expectation. Just saying like, they have this and they're doing this, not really thinking that they have their own issues or their own problems, And so the things that I've seen that is fake. On the other side, I realized working with influencers that pressure, the expectation that I put on them, they hold that expectation as well. So they try to deliver, even though it's not who they are. So say, for example, I had a situation with one of my influencers, and he's awesome, like a great, great guy. And honestly, he started his social media just being himself, and people love his personality. But now he has such a high just a really high social status that if he does certain things, it wouldn't be accepted. But it's like, that's who he is.
Right.
But it's like, we hold him to that standard as people looking in. And he's like, I can't do certain things because this is the way you view me. And it kind of puts him in a chokehold. And then when he does it, it kind of puts those people also in the same kind of I can't do that, that type of thing.
Right.
So it's like a circle that just keeps going over and over and over again. And so I've had things where I've had to like build campaigns that just didn't. And when I say campaigns, that's just basically you see your favorite YouTuber, your favorite Instagrammer, and they're like, oh yeah, we're in this place and we're staying here for the weekend, or this is our house or whatever. And it's really an Airbnb that they rented out and it's not their house. Or they'll walk into stores and they'll be like, this is my shoe collection. And it's not theirs. It's a store collection and that they walked in that they are recording. And it just makes you feel like, oh, wow, like they have all this stuff, but they don't. And some of them do, but most of them do not. And so it just gave me a really good.
And I want people who are listening and people who are watching too. I don't want to name any names or anything else like that, but we looked up some of the people that you run these accounts for, and they're not small scale like influencers.
No,
these people have 600 million whatever views on YouTube and stuff. So these are some of the most looked up to people on social media. And you're kind of speaking into this falseness behind it all.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. And working with some of the people or just seeing their world. Now, I will say the influencers that I work for, I did make it a point to work with people who care a lot about the people that are watching them, as far as like not showing that false thing, because I think that my whole agency is called Talent, and it's the whole point of it is that we have real people showing real things because of the things that I've gone through in the past with that. And so they show things that are real, and if they will tell people like, I don't have any money, and it's so funny because they'll say like, well, you're this person, like how do you not? They're like, that's not mine. They're very open. They're just like, we're actors, No, this is what this is. Just to keep that dynamic down like that, you have to compare yourself, or let me tell you what real life is kind of thing. So it kind of helps with, I guess, that thought process of that you have to be, or you got to compare.
No, I get that. So you said a lot of the clients that you take on are kind of opening up and kind of giving you a peek behind the curtain on that. What do you think needs to change in the culture of social media that people start being real and start being a little more open about and honest about what's going on?
Yeah, like, so what I was saying for both sides, the influencers, for them, I think that for a long time, I mean, even since we were little children, right? When we get a camera in front of us, what do they say? Smile, like you put on your best self, like you want to be your best self on camera. Well, I've kind of talked to a lot of the influencers I've spoken to. I'm like, you have to uncondition yourself to be your best self on camera. Just be you, because that's the most relatable thing. So I think that's the first thing, just unconditioning yourself to be your best self on camera. Just be you, And then on the other side, it's like accepting that, like I feel like when someone reaches a social standard, like I've seen articles where they're like, oh, such and such, Rihanna wore the same shirt 20 times. And it's like, okay, like, why do we hold them to that standard? Like, yeah, they could afford to buy another shirt, but why should they have to? Right. So I think on both sides, we just have to stop like making them inhuman. And then also we have to stop pretending like we're not human.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's shift focus a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, you've been very successful when you're running social media and social media campaigns and building these brands for the influencer. Let's say someone's watching right now or someone's listening right now and they want to build a brand. They understand the pros and the cons of social media. They think they got this down. They're ready to go, and they want to build their business or they want to build their personal brand. You want to give them some tips or some tricks of like how to get started?
Ooh, LinkedIn. Number one, networking is really huge. Just so you know, really, truly. But building any brand, I think just being ethical and just like I I'm very informal when it comes down to meeting with new influencers or even meeting with brands. I like to have word of mouth conversations. I think that's the best way to build like a connection, to build a brand and just a personality, just knowing if it fits truly. I tell people all the time when I'm building campaigns, I like to make it make sense.
Right.
So I feel like that's the best thing to do. Don't just take, my grandmother told me a long time ago, all money isn't good money. Don't just take an opportunity just because it presents itself. You really want to think about, is this right for you? Does this fit you? And it can help you grow, honestly. So just don't jump on any opportunity the first time. Really think about it, how it could affect you in the future. It's my biggest thing. I mean, in my waiting season right now. So that's the thing I've learned. Yeah.
That's awesome. What do you look for when you're looking for an influencer or a brand or something to represent? Like, what are your guidelines? This is what I need to represent.
Yeah. So my brand is based off of positive influences. So basically all of my influencers have a positive effect on all of their audiences or fans and stuff like that. So I look for people who are trying to encourage others, who are building them up. So I work with a lot of body positivity people or people who are in their community trying to build them up, or who have some sort of positive outlook in some kind of way, breaking norms or whatever. So like all of them, it's all inclusive, but they're all positive. And so I find really authentic people, because you can kind of tell the ones that are like pretending,
right,
and the ones that are truly great people. And even from phone conversations, like the first time we talk, it's like, I don't understand, but I really want to work with you. And it's always like that, because you could tell like they're super authentic people and they're just trying to make a difference.
Oh, that's awesome. We need more authenticity in all that we do.
Exactly.
So in closing, maybe what advice do you have for someone who is currently just struggling with social media or struggling with their body image or their self-worth based on what they see online?
I would say, this is going to sound very, very cliche, but change what you see. A long time ago, I used to think, well, there aren't a lot of people who talk about God on social media, which was a complete lie. There's so many people who talk about God and the things that you are, the things that you want to be or you want to be closer to. So you really have to take some time. Like for me personally, I took some time away from social media just to figure out who I was, because that's what I knew was the problem or the cause of me falling into those depressions, because I wasn't being myself. And so I figured out who I was, and then I figured out from there what I wanted to see. So I went and followed a lot of things that just didn't reflect who I was on the inside. And I followed things that I wanted to see to make me, I guess feel better, or like get closer to the person that I am. And most of those things just reflected probably just a lot of positive quotes, or just women who have a positive influence on the world and things like that. So I started following those accounts instead. And now my social media looks completely different, and it doesn't have that effect on me anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to share before I wrap up?
I don't think so. It was awesome.
Awesome. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You can always stay connected with us online at foothills.cc/Hills and Hollows. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, all the places you want to listen to your favorite podcast at. But until next week, we will see you guys soon.